Daf Yomi, Tractate Kiddushin, Daf 78b, and we're starting from the bottom of Daf 78a. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Omer, some lines from the bottom. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says that the daughter of a convert and a Jewish woman is fit to marry into the priesthood. It is taught in a brisa. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, a female who converts at less than 3 years and 1 day old is fit to marry into the priesthood, as it is stated after the war with Midian. But all the female children who have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. Numbers 31:18. In other words, you may marry them, but wasn't Pinchas the priest with them? And yet the Torah permitted these women to all of them, which indicates that girls who are not of age, when they convert, are permitted even to priests. And how do the rabbis, who hold that even a girl who converts at less than 3 years and 1 day is unfit to marry into the priesthood, interpret this verse? In their opinion, keep alive for yourselves means as slaves and as maidservants, but not for marriage. The Gemara comments, and all of the Tanaim who have a dispute with regard to the fitness of the daughter of a convert for marrying into the priesthood expounded a single verse. It states with regard to priests, neither shall they take as their wives a widow, nor her that divorced, but they shall take virgins of the seed of the house of Israel. Ezekiel 44:22. Rav Yehuda holds a priest may marry a woman only if the entire seed is from those born to the Jewish people, but not if one of the parents is a convert. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov holds of the seed of the house of Israel indicates that not all the seed must come from the house of Israel, and even if part of the seed is from the house of Israel, that is sufficient to allow her to marry a priest. Rabbi Yossi, who holds that even the daughter of 2 converts is permitted to marry into the priesthood, holds that of the seed of the house of Israel means one who was seeded, in other words, conceived in Israel, and the children of converts were conceived by Jewish parents. And Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who permits a female who converted at less than 3 years and 1 day old to marry into the priesthood, holds that the phrase virgins of the seed of the house of Israel is referring to one whose hymen was formed as a Jew. In other words, a woman who is already Jewish when her hymen completed its formation, which occurs at the age of 3. Rabbi Nachman said to Rava, now we're starting Daf 78b, the top of the Amud. Concerning this verse from Ezekiel, the first clause addresses a case with the high priest that is stated that he may marry a widow. He may not marry a widow, and the later clause addresses a case with a common priest, as it states that he may marry a widow. Is that reasonable? Is that a reasonable manner in which to interpret a verse? Rava said to him, yes, that is the correct interpretation of the verse. Rav Nachman proceeded to ask, but can a verse be written in this way, addressing 2 different subjects without any demarcation? Rava said to him, yes. And there is a similar case as it is written, and the lamp of God was not yet gone out, and Samuel was laid down to sleep in the temple of the Lord. 1 Samuel 3:3. If read literally, this verse is puzzling. It apparently states that Samuel was lying in the sanctuary, but there is a right to sit in the courtyard of the temple only for the king of the house of David alone. How, then, could Samuel be laid down to sleep in the temple? Rather, the verse should be understood as follows. And the lamp of God was not yet gone out in the temple of the Lord, and Samuel was laid down in his place outside the temple. Since the Gemara quoted the verse in Ezekiel, it proceeds to discuss it further. The continuation of that verse states, and a widow who is the widow of a priest, they may take. Ezekiel 44:22. Does this mean that a priest may marry the widow of a priest? Yes, but the widow of an Israelite may he not marry? This is counter to the halacha that allows a priest to marry any widow. Rather, this is what the verse is saying. And a widow who is the widow of a priest they may take, meaning that of the rest of the priests they may take. In other words, it is permitted for all the priests, in other words, common priests, to marry widows, and only the high priest may not marry them. That is also taught in a brisa, of a priest they may take, means of the rest of the priests they may take. Rav Yehuda states a different explanation of the verse. A widow who is the widow of one whose daughters are fit to marry into the priesthood, they may take. The Gemara clarifies. Rav Yehuda confirms to his line of reasoning above, as he says, the daughter of a male convert is like the daughter of a male halal, and he ruled that anyone whose daughter you may marry, you may likewise marry his widow. Anyone whose daughter you may not marry, example, a male convert, you may not marry his widow either. The verse therefore states that a priest may marry the widow only of one whose daughter is permitted to marry into the priesthood. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Yossi says, even if there was a male convert who married a female convert, his daughter is fit to marry into the priesthood. Rav Hamnuna says, in the name of Ula, the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, and similarly, Rabba bar Barchana says the halacha is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. And from the day the temple was destroyed, the priests were accustomed to act with a higher standard for themselves, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. And they would marry the daughter of a convert only if one parent was born Jewish. Rabbi Nachman says, Rabbi Huna said to me, if a priest comes to consult with us as to whether or not he should marry the daughter of two converts, we instruct him not to, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. But if he married her, we do not remove her from him, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, as the halacha follows his opinion as stated above. Mishnah. One who says, this son of mine is a mamzer, for example, if he claims that the son was born to one forbidden to him by prohibition that carries the punishment of karet, he is not deemed credible to render him a mamzer, even if both of them, the father and the mother, admit that a fetus in her womb is a mamzer, they are not deemed credible. Rabbi Yehuda says they are deemed credible. Gemara. What is the added novelty indicated by the phrase, and even if both of them? What is taught there is that is not stated in the clause that a father is not deemed credible to state that his son is a mamzer. The Gemara answers, the Tana is speaking utilizing the style of, it is not necessary. It is not necessary to state this halacha with regard to this claim when it is not clear to him. In other words, a father can never be sure that a child is his. Rather, the halacha is the same even with regard to her when it is clear to her who the father is, and yet she is nevertheless not deemed credible. And additionally, it is not necessary to state when the child has a presumption of unflawed lineage, as he was assumed to be of unflawed lineage before his parents came to testify, that they are not deemed credible. Rather, even in the case of a fetus who does not have a presumption of unflawed lineage, as he has no status with regard to lineage until he is born, the parents are likewise not deemed credible. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Yehuda says they are deemed credible. This is as it is taught in a brisa expounding the verse, he shall acknowledge the firstborn, Deuteronomy 21:17. The sages said, he, the father, shall acknowledge him to others. In other words, he is deemed credible to tell others that this is his firstborn. From here, Rabbi Yehuda said that a person is deemed credible to say, this is my firstborn son. And just as a person is deemed credible to say, this is my firstborn son, so too a person is deemed credible to say about his son, this is a son of a divorced woman, or this is a son of a chalutza. And the rabbis say as far as these latter claims are concerned, he is not deemed credible. He is deemed credible only to state which son is his firstborn. Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak said to Rava, granted, according to Rabbi Yehuda, this is the meaning of that which is written, he shall acknowledge, as he derives from these words that a father is deemed credible to attest the identity of his sons. But according to the rabbis in the Mishnah, why do I need the phrase, he shall acknowledge? The Gemara answers, it is necessary for a case when he requires identification in the identity of the firstborn son, if the identity of the firstborn son is unknown in such a case. The verse teaches that the father is deemed credible. The Gemara asks, with regard to what halacha is this relevant? Does it refer to the requirement by giving him a double portion, Deuteronomy 21:17? In other words, that the firstborn receives a double share of the inheritance? Isn't it obvious that he is deemed credible with regard to this halacha? Why do I need a verse to teach this? His claim is supported by the fact that he could have made a more advantageous claim, migo. If he desired to give him a double portion as a gift while he was alive, would the court not give it to him? Since the father could have given him a double portion of the firstborn without having to testify that he is his firstborn, it cannot be that the verse is teaching us that he is deemed credible with regard to the halacha that a firstborn receives a double portion of the inheritance. The Gemara answers, the verse is referring to a property that came into his possession at a later point, which he was unable to give to his son at the time that he came to testify. The verse teaches that the son whom the father states is the firstborn will receive a double portion even of that property. The Gemara asks, and according to Rabbi Meir, who says that a person can transfer an entity that has not yet come into the world, which would mean that a person can give away his property even before it enters his possession, why do I need the verse, he shall acknowledge? The Gemara answers, it is referring to a case where property came into the father's possession where he was moribund, at which point he cannot transfer ownership of any property, any of his property to others. It is with regard to such a property that the verse states, he shall acknowledge, to teach that the son of whom the father states the firstborn will receive a double portion even of that property. Mishnah. In a case of one who authorized his agent to betroth his daughter to a man that the agent would deem fit, and the father went and betrothed her to someone else, if his betrothal preceded that of the agent, his betrothal is valid betrothal. And if the betrothal of his agent preceded his own, the betrothal of the agent is a valid betrothal. And if it is not known whose betrothal came first,